Welcome back, y'all. Well, back to hiking. Some of you know my knee has given out a little bit again on me. I think it was trying to teach my daughter soccer and all the lateral moves and cutbacks and pushing off. But I got a full hike in yesterday and a couple short hikes a couple days before. And last night's real hike was really good. Got it kind of stretched out again. It's amazing how the walk does it, and it just gives you, I was jogging some too and still plan on it, but gives you some time to think and find the peace. And if I jog, then I'm trying to, seems like I have an agenda to beat a time or go so far before I take a break or try to get more wind. And hiking, I just go, and it gives you that peace to think and do these videos. And last couple days, it was Mike Thomas's birthday a couple days ago, and those of you that don't know, Mike is the guy that truly introduced me to horsemanship. We got horses for packing and then team roping quite a bit and competing a lot in my teens. But Mike introduced me to horsemanship, and we'd run the ropings at night, and I'd help Mike with training colts in the day, and he got busy and would go to town, and I'd ride some of the colts there for him. And gave me that introduction, and I just wanted to ride horses and get better. And he got me a spot in a Buck Brannaman clinic in 1986. I'd known Mike for a while, and I was lucky enough to get that spot. And my dad said, "You got to go see this guy." And Mike happened to get him at this ranch that I was working at, cleaning stalls and helping Mike and helping with the team ropings. And side note, back then we wouldn't start the team ropings till after midnight, because that was when it got below 100, and we didn't want to ride, didn't want to rope unless it got below 100. I don't know what the couple degrees really made, but it's still hot. But then I'd get up at 5 and back to work, get my stalls cleaned. Mike would show up about 10 or 11, and during my lunch break, I'd either nap or help Mike. And then when I had some time off work, so my dad would come get me. At 14, I would help Mike ride the colts, sometimes with his help, and then sometimes just he would have to go to town there. And just the things I learned with Mike, I'm still working on today. And then to see it go full circle and help Mike start a few colts when I got older, and visit with him and visit from my perspective, because I had a lot of perspective from him as I was younger. But then after working for Buck Brannaman for quite a few years, I had quite a few things in my head and ideas to try. And a lot of that's observe, remember, and compare. And when you get the ideas, it takes some time to work on it. Sometimes you think it's a great idea because it works on a horse or two, but you realize you just got lucky because horses were so forgiving. And you know, a lot of times when we're trying to grow, Mike would always say, a lot of people have trouble growing because they're either doing too much too soon or too little too late. And how true a lot of that stuff is on life. Is I wish my friend had talked me into doing YouTube videos when I was younger, when I was busy, when I was traveling full time. And I wish I had done them, because to have that database now of the stories along the road would be priceless for even me to go back. And the time with my daughter growing up and riding in the clinics. Man, now she's kind of a city kid and doesn't hardly like to ride. I always hope she'll come back to it, but you never know. She had a true gift for it, but she got to ride some of my good bridle horses, and maybe you make it too easy for them. But maybe I was too protective. But I was always grateful to have Mike, and I mean, I've had several father figures. Ray Harmon, we need to do some Ray Harmon videos for sure, and Buck, and, I mean, just guys that are role models, Roland Moore. But to have Mike there as kind of a father figure, and he knew my dad pretty well. They used to go out quite a bit together in the younger days, and my dad and I would have fallings out, and Mike really just helped instill in me. And sometimes there to poke plenty of fun too. Piss me off, but I would just about give anything to be, he'd do these experiments at Carlise on how to get rid of flies and hang fly traps at all different levels to see which one created more flies. And we'd sit there and watch horses, and he'd watch me work. And it was such a, give me some ideas. And then later on, he'd start at, well, how'd you do that? Or how'd you do this? And to find those changes and to get that compliment that of how I was ahead of thinking of some things that he was truly an honor. And I think a lot of times maybe he just let me think that way too. But I remember the last colt that he rode at my house there before he kind of moved away, in the time and helping him start that colt. He was older then, and had to use a saddle horse to help him a little bit. But once we got it through that beginning stage, and I guess he truly got me to help me as much as anyone to search for that slower, more peaceful style, like Tom would always talk about. And of course, a lot of people don't know, but he was a very great investment accountant, and literally like worked for kings and queens and huge people with mansions. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he even had lunch at the White House one time, but don't quote me on that. It might be somebody else, but I mean, he was a bigwig in finances and ranch books and things like that. And then later on when we got cows, I wish I had been able to have cows more when I was younger with him. I would always tell a story about Mike now, because now I know it's about Mike, but I would tell people to be careful not pulling their tail too short in their McCarty in their belt loop, because that tail could run through and it'd half hitch. And I had heard a story about a fella who that happened to, and luckily it ripped all his belt loops off. But come to find out, Mike's like, I really hate you telling that story. I'm like, what story? About the McCarty, that, that's how I got hurt so bad. And I had never known that for years. I never knew that till he said something. So then I tried not to tell it around him, but it was a valuable lesson to learn, but I didn't know it was him that was there, and that sort of did quite a bit of damage to his shoulders. But he would stay there with me and help me and take care of his mom at the time, who was getting elderly. And I mean, I just wish we had that time where he'd show up every day. Some days even just help me clean stalls. But if he wasn't, he'd sit there and he'd visit with me. And at least he'd visit with me about horses while I was cleaning stalls. And it truly made stall cleaning a pleasure. And then later on, back in those days, a friend of mine, Hal Coker, moved 4 houses down. So the 3 of us would have great fun. Hal had some colts down the road there for me, and I had some colts. My place is a little bigger, so he'd come over a lot of times. A couple times I'd go over there, and if he had something kind of troubled. And yeah, it was kind of the 3 amigos there for a while. Anyways, if you're toasting a toast tonight or thinking of stories, I encourage you to look up Mike Thomas. He says he's the original horse mumbler, but really he coined that for me, I think, before, because especially back when I used to chew, I had a hard time enunciating. I still do, a lot of people say, because I try to stay pretty flat so people don't get in trouble. And always give me crap about my belly. And but I encourage you to look up some stuff from Mike. He's luckily got some things up there. I pulled a few old articles that he wrote about me, and maybe at some point I'll read a couple of them to you, because it kind of brought a tear and kind of amazed me that I had forgotten about those articles. Because I mean, I'm not really one to brag or look for the glitz or glamour. In fact, I get a little awkward with accolades and things like that. And we did a thing when I became trainer of the year, and it was just, I just wanted to kind of disappear with it. But for sure it helps a guy business wise a little bit. But man, I just wanted to ride horses and help people, and I hope this channel does it for you. So anyways, I sure, like I said, encourage you to look up some stuff that Mike Thomas did. I believe his website's still active even. Have to call on that one, check up on that one. But yeah, when you're riding your horse, think about just slowing down and trying to see, even though you guys don't know it, what would Mike see? Where is this horse having trouble? And how can I help him from the simplest step? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, and you're this far into it, maybe drop a comment or one of your favorite times from Mike, or those of you that know him, or just a little note to me to thank you for I thank you for your time, and maybe a little note to thank you for doing these. It sort of encourages me. On some days it gets hard to do them, but especially thinking about my old buddy there, and especially hard not to keep a straight face with it whenever you've had such great times with someone. So I hope you guys have a blessed evening. Getting a little late in the hike, but we got a pretty full moon, so we should be good on the trail. But I encourage you, no matter what you're doing, find a way to enjoy the journey. Happy trails.